Hello and welcome back to Soul GPS, where we take our destiny back in our hands. So I wanted to talk to you today about trauma bond, continuing this discussion that I have started a few videos ago, because it's really fascinating. What really fascinates me especially is the prevalence of mind control and trauma bonding in our society. If you have been exposed to the media in the last 40 or so years, actually it goes back even further, you know what I'm talking about. Mind control began shortly after World War II, when the American government imported Nazi scientists from Germany in order to recruit them for their own programs. As you may have known, Nazi Germany employed a lot of these techniques in order to sway a large population of people to support the atrocities that occurred during the Second World War. So the government was very fascinated with how they managed to pull that off. So they imported those scientists, some of them were psychologists and some were propulsion scientists, in order to study their techniques. So what these psychologists have taught them is that by the use of propaganda, they're able to demoralize the enemy and make a large population believe in what they're doing, no matter how harmful it was. So it's been over 70 years since the end of World War II. So just imagine how much they've been able to advance. So this is one of the reasons why I got rid of my television 8 or 9 years ago. I just could not really deal with it, because I've noticed that every time I exposed myself, whether it was to the news or to any of the shows, I would be dreaming about it, I'll be thinking about it all the time. It literally colored my perception. So this is not for you to do the same thing that I did. Obviously, you may choose to watch television, you may choose to have your favorite shows, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just wanted to make you aware of how mind control literally sneaks into our daily exposure to mass media. Also, when I was in school, back when I was in college, my degree was in mass communications and media studies, with a concentration in journalism. And one of the things that we have learned early on was that if it bleeds, it leads. Meaning that the more scandal, the more bloodshed, the more fascinating and interesting the story, the higher the price tag was on it. So it was more likely to be watched. And this is what continues to today. So we're only able to see a very small slice of reality as opposed to the full picture. So just to recap, trauma bond, also known as Stockholm Syndrome, is being so tied to something or someone. It could be an ideology, which is what it is in this case, that we're unable to detach ourselves from it. You can see how deeply this can run. It can color the entire paradigm of entire nations, of entire cultures. Our world is full of temptations, charlatans, salespeople trying to sell us something in exchange for our precious attention. These people and the messages to which we are exposed to daily are actually harmful to our brain. There are many scientific studies confirming this, that if we expose ourselves to stressful information, it will hijack our limbic brain and put us in a state of constant anxiety. So you may be wondering, why aren't you able to move forward in your life? Why do you feel like you're stuck chasing your own tail? This might be one of the answers. The answer may be that constant exposure to negative news is what's responsible for keeping your glasses colored in a certain way. So just be aware of this. What you watch on television is not normal. It is a form of sub-reality that has been heavily edited, that has been heavily scripted and enhanced in order to make you want something. So this is where I want to draw the similarity between you wanting something on television versus trauma bond, where you want something from an abuser that always holds this kind of a dangling carrot in front of you, which is that if you only try a little bit harder, if you only do this or that, they're going to reward you. Well, it's very similar here. As you're being exposed to images, say, of a beautiful models or people with affluence, you look at it it fires certain chemicals in your brain, such as dopamine, which I call the more chemical, makes you want it. Then the moment it disappears, the moment the show is over, you're left with feeling kind of shitty about your life. At least that's what majority of the people feel. Perhaps it's not you. Hopefully it's not you. But that's what happens. And it's the same thing with social media, the same thing with advertising. We're looking at these idealized models of reality that have very little to do with what actually is going on. So what very few people might be aware of is that this desire of wanting something out there creates within us a sense of toxic shame, which is feeling like when we compare ourselves to the ideal, is that we're not good enough. So it can re-trigger trauma from the past. When it comes to politics today, what we're witnessing, in my view, is narcissistic abuse happening on a global scale. We have entire nations trying to take from other nations. I believe that government, religion, science, healthcare, education, these institutions are not in themselves negative, but they can become tools of oppression when they're put in the wrong hands. So what can you do to protect yourself from this onslaught? Well, number one is be aware and be vigilant. Remember that whenever you expose yourself to certain information, it can't be unlearned. Whatever you see can't be unseen. Whatever you heard cannot be unheard. It is stuck in your mind and you're going to have to live with it. So might as well turn it off and focus your attention on things that actually nurture your soul, that build up your self-esteem instead of eroding it. The game can only go on if you buy into the idea that you're not good enough and you are lacking something. Therefore, they're going to dish out the kind of culture, the kind of clothing, the kind of music, the kind of entertainment, the kind of information you're supposed to be consuming. The truth that they don't want you to know about, however, is the truth that you are inherently a person of value, that just by the sheer fact that you're here on this planet, you have a purpose and you can build any meaning that you wish. Your life is your life. It doesn't belong to anyone else. So if you would like to see a difference, you can be the difference. You can become a contributor to the global village. You can become a contributor to your community just by being who you are. I am sure you have heard of this study which says that happiness quotient levels at a certain point of material acquisition. It doesn't go any further once people have enough to live a sustainable life. If they acquire more, their happiness doesn't change. It doesn't budge the scale. What I have been doing recently is experiencing with minimalism. So I've been actually getting rid of stuff. And you know what I've noticed is that I'm happier as a result. So take frequent breaks from the television and pick up a good book instead. It will make you feel better. You're going to learn something and you're not going to buy into a negative ideology and a negative perception. So I wish you all the best. Thank you for stopping by. Subscribe if you like this video. There will be more on the way. And I want to thank you for your attention and wish you the best in your own journey back to yourself. Take care.